Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens, and looking forward to a really great show, kind of a unique preview show today. We're going to talk about the Women in Aviation International's conference that's coming up in a few weeks down in Orlando, Florida. Absolutely looking forward to it. I've been to it almost every year, and it gets a little bit more exciting each year. And there are a lot of things going on that I talked to them in a pre-discussion about that I'm just really can't wait to tell everybody about this. So without further ado, we're going to get things going. Joining me today is Lynda Coffman. Lynda, who was recently selected to helm Women in Aviation International as its new Chief Executive Officer. Before stepping into this brand new role, Lynda was the Vice President of United Airlines and President of United Ground Express. It all began for Lynda when she joined United as a mechanical engineer right out of college, eventually getting her Master of Management from the Kellogg Graduate School of Management at Northwestern University. As it turns out, we were practically neighbors years ago when I lived in Chicago. Lynda, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thank you, Vince, and thank you for having me today. Thank you for having us today.
Absolutely. It's really great to have you guys and really looking forward to it. Also joining me is Stephanie Kenyon. Now, Stephanie is the Chief Operating Officer of Women in Aviation International after serving as the interim president. Stephanie and I are former colleagues from way back. I guess I shouldn't say way, way back, but from way back at the Aircraft Owner and Pilots Association, better known as AOPA. You're going to hear a lot more about their backgrounds a little later in the show. Stephanie, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thanks, Vince.
It's great to have you guys on board. But before we get things going, why don't we start off by talking a little bit about what WAI is, its history, and what it means to women in aviation.
Sure, Vince. And again, thank you for having us today. We're so excited about the upcoming conference, and this is going to be a great opportunity for us to share but all the exciting things that we'll be experiencing at the conference. But Women in Aviation was started back in 1990 by Dr. Peggy Chabrian. And our first conference actually was in that year, but then a few years later, in 1994, it became a nonprofit organization. So Peggy was the CEO and president of WAI for 25 years and retired just in 2019. So she really shepherded the organization and she grew it. And it is now, the largest women in aviation organization in the world. We have over 18,000 members in 180 chapters in 30 countries. And we also, our membership spans over 120 countries. So large organization, and we continue to grow. We could continue to expand our opportunities for our membership. But just a long, rich history. We're just so proud this year to say that this will be our 35th year at the conference. So it's our official 35th conference this year.
And Stephanie, you've been involved with WAI for quite some time. What's your perspective on what you guys are doing and the direction that Lynda is going to be taking it forward?
Well, it's an exciting time for sure with Lynda new on board. Lynda, I think it's maybe 2 months now that you've been with us. And yeah, it's been great. Lynda, I know, has some really good ideas on where to take us strategically, but I have been a member of Women in Aviation International for, maybe going on 15 years now. I've been in the aviation industry for a good long time, but I've always found that this organization has provided me with a great network. I've made a lot of friends. I've made a lot of good career connections as well. So it's an exciting time to see from when Peggy brought it to fore back in Prescott, at the Prescott campus of Embry-Riddle, to the way it is now, where, like Lynda said, we've got about 18,000 members all over the world. So it's really growing. And I think that the need for an organization like ours is also growing, as we've seen some of the challenges that the aviation industry has been facing, certainly since the pandemic. But we do hold the key, I think, to a lot of the solutions that will bring the whole industry forward.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a bit in terms of both of you are professional women in aviation. You've both been in the industry for quite some time. Share your perspectives, if you would, about what it means to you, personally, personally and professionally, that this is such a vital aspect of the industry in terms of what WAI does.
Yeah, sure. I'll start, Vincent. I know Stephanie has a lot of good thoughts on this as well. But I started my career, back right out of college, and I was a mechanical engineer, and I started with United Airlines, actually in power plant as an engine in one of the engine groups. I was the first female in my engine group, and was sort of a pioneer myself in that particular area of aviation. And spent several years working as an engineer, and then moved into corporate. But when you think about the aviation industry, it still is a lot of very male dominated. Women are making great strides, but the importance of this organization is for women who are working in aviation, who want a career in aviation and want to advance, and no matter what type of work they're doing. I was in engineering, female pilots, and Women in Aviation International. But it doesn't just need to be like the traditional career paths. I moved up and I was in airport operations. I was in all the different divisions. I had like 7 different careers at United Airlines. And what I loved about this organization, I was involved in it as a member or as an employee of United Airlines and someone who supported diversity at United Airlines. And we partnered quite a bit with Women in Aviation International. And it meant a lot to the women that were either working in the professional fields, like I was at corporate headquarters. I used to go out to Aviation for Girls Day every year at O'Hare. So for the women that are working in the more traditional jobs at the airports, and the young girls that would come out and look up to us and say, hey, I want to be just like them. Women in Aviation gave us that forum to actually have those interactions and to be able to support women. So it's very important because we need a network. We need to support one another. We need to pull each other up. And, sometimes it's just good to have a friend to talk to that's in the same industry and maybe having the same challenges that you're experiencing.
Yeah, I think that this organization is growing the way it's growing because this is the right time in our history, in the way that the aviation industry is growing right now. But for me personally, I started my career as a flight attendant. I loved it. It was the way that I got to see the world. I took my gap year in between my junior and senior year of college, and I worked for Aviation International, which at the time had a government contract. So I did a lot of military hops to very unexciting places, but it got me out and traveling, and I absolutely fell in love with aviation at that point. I then moved into my degree when I did graduate was in journalism and communications, just like you, Vince. So I started out doing communications work for the American Red Cross, learned all about disaster communications then. And I started to see a little bit about humanitarian aviation and the benefits there. After that, I moved to AirServe International, which is a humanitarian aviation organization that provides flights for medical equipment. Doctors, nurses were brought into hard to reach areas in third world countries. It was really, really rewarding work. Loved it. But again, showed me the value of aviation. So not just from an economic standpoint, but from a humanitarian standpoint. And that it really is where my heart lies. From there, I went into AOPA, which, Vince, that's where you and I first crossed paths. And I was a vice president at AOPA. And that's where I learned to fly. So I got my private pilot's license when I was with AOPA and saw the benefits of general aviation. So beyond humanitarian and commercial aviation, I now was able to see the value in general aviation. So every facet brings something different to the fore, and that was wonderful. Loved it. Then I went down to Embry-Riddle and worked at Embry-Riddle for a few years and loved that. But that's where I learned about aviation and education. So another facet that really is very, very important, because that's kind of where it starts, right? That's where we are training aerospace engineers and really training young people to get into aviation. And then finally found my way here as a member, but now as a staff person with Women in Aviation and working through the nonprofit world in aviation is yet another facet. So, I've had the benefit of really seeing all of the different parts of industry that can be brought together by aviation.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point about that, which I want to touch on. But I wanted to make sure, coming back to what you were saying, Stephanie, is one of the things that I think really makes WAI stand out. And so when young people are trying to figure out what they want to do in the industry, and there are things that are obvious, like maybe being a pilot or maybe being an A&P mechanic or things like that. But then there's the things that aren't so obvious. Both of you have talked about your tracks a bit, and both of you have done some things that I don't think either one of you necessarily saw coming or expected. And again, bringing it back to, which is what we're going to talk about, the conference, I think that's where WAI plays a really big role. Yes, it has opportunities for networking and things like that, but it also exposes young people to, and I say young people, it can be really anybody. It can be somebody that's already into their career, but still trying to figure things out. And I think it does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
I would. Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that sets apart our organization. There are a lot of organizations out there that are very pilot centric or, specific job centric. That's not us. We are an organization that wants to see women fill jobs in every area of aviation. So I would say if there is one benefit that we bring, it's the fact that we just do support our members no matter what they're doing, no matter what jobs they hold within the aviation and aerospace industries.
Yeah. Lynda, you were going to say?
And Vince, you said that, when we started out, we probably didn't imagine that we would take the paths that we took. I know when you and I talked, I said I had, I wanted to be a pilot when I was very young, very, very young. Unfortunately, my eyesight would not support that. But, went into
That's right.
the maintenance.
You and I both wanted to be pilots, and because of these,
yeah. But, so I went into, the technical side with engineering, but, very quickly I realized there is a whole business around aviation. It's the opportunities are unlimited. I moved to headquarters and there was product planning. I worked in the marketing areas. I worked in safety, operations, and all different facets of operations. And while you're doing that, you're learning, you're getting your financial acumen. And so there's just so many things that you could do that girls could dream of doing in aviation. If you love aviation, I've always loved the industry. I've always just been so enamored with airplanes. I grew up in Millbrae, California, which actually sits right above SFO. So I was able to look right down on the runways from my bedroom window. And I just always have been enamored with aviation. But no matter what it is that you're good at in school and what your skill sets are, your passion is, you can find a place for it in aviation. And that's one thing that our organization embraces and wants to ensure that, our membership understands. You could do anything and we're here to support you for that.
Absolutely. And that point cannot be overemphasized, that you literally, whatever your skill set is, it applies somewhere in this industry. And then the other part that both of you keep touching on, which is probably a big part for me, is you develop a passion for this industry, and then you're locked in permanently. so because it's such a great industry, it's such a great community, and then the opportunities are pretty much endless, depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it and things like that. And yes, I wanted to be a naval aviator, but my glasses kept that from happening. But aviation still managed to be a big part of my life right up until today. So point taken. Let's get into talking about the conference. And Peggy planted that seed 35 years ago, and it's grown into a really amazing conglomerate of things that of what you guys do and the reach that you have globally. It's not just here in the US, but I was actually talking to somebody over in Sweden, and they saw the notice about us doing the show, and they were like, "Oh yeah, and we're doing blah 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 blah, and yeah, we're familiar with women in aviation over here in Sweden," and I was like, "Yeah, that's serious reach." that you guys have. I like the way the show is starting out. So the day before the show, there's an opportunity to visit a few of the nearby aviation, facilities. Can you talk about that a little bit before we get into the specifics of the show?
Sure. Stephanie, I know that I just spoke, so if you want to talk about
Yeah, sure.
some great tours before the show actually starts.
Yeah, the tours are a big part of the conference, and the conference itself is different, like you said, Vince, because part of what we want to achieve is the networking, the friendships that are developed. Those are the things that propel you throughout your career. It's the relationships that you form at the conference. And so we do have a couple of tours planned, one to NOAA, one to NASA. Those are the types of things when you're on a bus with somebody, you get to know them, you're sitting next to them, you're talking to them, you're doing something that is fun, that's outside of your work environment. And that first day is really where an awful lot of those friendships and relationships can be formed, because you're not sitting in a classroom setting, you're not being lectured, it's a fun experience, and that's what that first day is designed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really kicks off the energy of the conference. So the conference is very high energy and such good positive energy, and that really does kick off, the formal part of the conference of being able to experience these really incredible tours together.
I was going to ask you, and I hope I'm not putting you guys on the spot. Is Embraer still one of the tours also?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Yeah,
going out to Melbourne.
to be able to see that
Yep.
facility, which I've toured, all of them are exciting. NOAA, it's all great, but to see an aircraft facility like that and what they do, and to have that, kind of in your backyard for the show is just great.
Yeah, they've been a really good supporter of the conference as well. They're a big sponsor, and so this is just a little cherry on top that they've offered us. So we're excited about that.
So like all conferences, you have a lot going on. So you have education sessions, you have different events that are taking place throughout each day and things like that. What are some of the highlights, some of the things that you'd like to stand out for those who still may be interested in trying to make it down there in a couple of weeks?
So I'll start off, Stephanie, and then because there are so many different venues to experience at the conference. We have some great keynote speakers. I'll name, in fact, I'll name all of them. We have Nicole Batches, who is the CEO and owner of Rainbow Helicopters in Hawaii. She is, I believe, has spoken before, and so we're really excited to have her speak with us. Erica Brand, who's the head of strategy and operations at Google's Research Applied Science division. So we actually have Google coming into the conference to share, how their technology relates to the aviation industry. So that's something else we're really excited about. This isn't just about traditional supporters and companies and technologies for the aviation industry, but also other adjacent industries that are involved in the aviation world. Terry Bristol, who is served as the Chief Operating Officer for the FAA's Air Traffic Control Organization. We've got Dr. Patty Chang-Chien, who is the Vice President and General Manager of Boeing Research and Technology. We have Rear Admiral Nancy Hahn, who is the Director of NOAA in the Office of Marine and Aviation Operations and the Director of the NOAA Commissioned Officer Corps. So, so this is really impressive. And then one of the keynote speakers that's going to be one of our general sessions is Dr. Cyan Proctor. And she's a geoscience professor at Maricopa Community College and is also an astronaut. And then Pam Melroy, who was sworn in as the NASA Deputy Administrator on June 20th. So Pam served more than 2 decades in the U.S. Air Force and was one of only 2 women to command the space shuttle. So we've got some pretty impressive people that are coming as our keynote speakers. Every time I go and I meet some of the people that come and speak at the Women of Aviation conference, I'm always sort of in awe. You kind of get nervous even talking to them because you're just such in awe of them and their achievements. But great keynote speakers. We have educational sessions. We have events like Girls in Aviation Day, which is going to bring in girls from the local communities and areas to come in and experience Girls in Aviation Day. We have briefings from the sponsors that are having their own like industry briefings. There is a lot going on. We're having celebrations in the evening for the Pioneer Women's Hall of Fame. I keep rattling on. So Stephanie, I want Stephanie to talk about Harvard, because that's also another event that she has really helped shepherd and grow in the last couple of years.
Yeah, the Emerging Leaders event. Yeah, tell us about that, Stephanie.
Yeah, I will. That program, it's called Emerging Leaders. It's a program where we've partnered with Harvard University to provide leadership skills to women who are aspiring to reach the C-suite. The reason why that's important is because we have looked very carefully at the FAA Women in Aviation Advisory Board report that had several recommendations on where they identified an awful lot of the barriers that were preventing women from getting into the industry, the things that were preventing them from staying, and why they were dropping out. One of the things that they identified was that there is a huge barrier when women are mid-career, that they are not getting the leadership training and skills that they need to reach the C-suite. So in working with Harvard, we designed a program that touches on a lot of the things that report talked about. We gave them the report and we said, help us design a program specifically for the aviation industry, with the goal of being to get our members to go reach the C-suite. So if they aspire to leadership positions, this course will help them. So we launched it last May, and we had 2 days on campus in Harvard. And this year we will do 3 days on campus with 1 day of virtual training. We did a survey after last year's session to find out whether or not any of the women who had been through that program had, either gotten a raise or gotten a promotion or new responsibilities at their current job. And we found out that 90% of the women who had been through that program could say yes to that question. Yes, I have gotten a raise, I've gotten a promotion, I have a new job that's at a higher level. So we know that leadership training works. And one of the nice things about the conference is that we are bringing down the woman who is the head of Harvard's Women's Initiative to come down and do 2 sessions for us at the conference. She'll be doing a 4-hour mini session on emerging leaders. So it's pretty much the same curriculum that the women will be getting on campus, but we're condensing it down into just 4 hours. And then the next day, she'll be doing a 90-minute leadership training session for us as well. So we're trying to strengthen that partnership with Harvard, because we know that leadership training is really one way that we as an organization are going to be able to make a dent in bringing more women into executive positions.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you guys do that. And it brings me to a couple of other platforms or initiatives, I should say, that you guys have implemented. One of them I'd love to hear more about, and for our audience to also know about, and that's your Mentor Connect. I think that's such a great idea, and it's really unique the way you guys do that.
Yeah, I'll kick that off, and then I'll hand it back over to Stephanie, because again, she's been instrumental in launching this. But mentorship is very important. If you're a woman and you're coming up through your career, it's very important to have someone who's a mentor to you and an advocate to you. I know in my own career that was very important and a key factor of my success as I was progressing through my career. So to have an organization like Women in Aviation International that has a ready-made mentor program where you could get paired up with somebody to give you guidance, to be there as to help you with decisions of if you're just entering your career, or if you're mid-career and have some challenges or decisions that you need to make about your next step. What's really great about and awesome about our program is that we use technology to actually do the matching, similar to like a dating service. So it actually matches you up to someone who would be a good fit for you as a mentor and a mentee. So Stephanie, I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we've got over 500 of our members who are involved either as mentors or mentees in the program right now, and that program continues to grow. That also is a program that we launched last year. Actually, we strengthened it. We always had a mentor program, but we were able to bring in that technology that works on the algorithms that matches you with a mentor, a mentee, about a year ago. So the program is certainly enhanced now. And that is growing again because of the strategic recommendations that were made through the Women in Aviation Advisory Board report, where we do an entire lifetime of programs to encourage more women to get into aviation. That starts when we're girls. So one of our keystone programs is Aviation for Girls. That's a program that starts when girls are young. We provide them with STEM education. That is a multifaceted program where we have now free junior membership for girls 18 and under. We have an Aviation for Girls magazine that all of those members get. We also do Aviation for Girls STEM education app. The app is very interactive, really fun, really engages a lot of the girls. And then, of course, our signature event is Girls in Aviation Day. We are around the world right now with Girls in Aviation Day events. That happens every September. But at conference, it does happen on the Saturday at conference as well. That started out as Take Your Daughters to Work Day, if you remember what that was, many years ago.
I have 3 daughters, so yes, I remember.
Yeah. So this started for us as Take Your Daughter to Conference Day. And now it really is, it just sort of highlights what happens around the world when we do a Girls in Aviation Day event in the morning, Saturday morning of the conference. So that's a big deal for us. But we also know that there are other programs like the mentor program that will help us provide a lifetime of programs to our members. And we can go into some more detail on that if you want to at some point, Vince, but just
Sure.
a mentor program. So we do want to talk a little bit more about the conference. And I would ask you, what are you looking forward to the most? As our new CEO, this will be the first time you've been to the conference in a long time. I know you've been before. But you had some impressions back then. What are you looking forward to?
So I have, and I've actually been a speaker at the conference previously. But what I'm looking forward to the most is just the energy and the camaraderie that is at this conference. I mean, over my career, I've gone to lots of different kinds of conferences. What sticks out in my memory about Women in Aviation International's conferences is just the excitement, the inspiration, the positive energy. And you're there with everybody else who shares the same passion and love of aviation that you do. So it's like you're just immersed in this for several days. It's heady. I mean, it really is amazing. And the amount of programs and different venues that you can participate in I remember when I went, it was hard to choose because you wanted to go to everything. But it's just very exciting. And I especially love, too, the scholarship awards presentations, which I don't think we've touched on that yet. But to see these, young women, and girls that are now getting access to education that maybe they may not have had access to go pursue their dream. And that always was something that, I always reacted to very emotionally because it was so special to see that.
Yeah, let's talk about the scholarship program. You guys have a very comprehensive one that covers a lot of area and has a lot of support and provides a lot of support to a lot of aspiring young aviation professionals. So happy to very much talk about that.
Great. The scholarship program is something that we are very, very proud of. It started with a $500 scholarship back in 1994. It has now grown to the point where we can proudly say that we've given away $15 million worth of scholarship support. That support comes from scholarship funders. So the money doesn't come from us. We are the vehicle through which those dollars are awarded to our members. So in order to apply, you must be a Women in Aviation member. This year, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be awarding some on stage at conference, but we're also going to be hosting a brand new celebration of scholarships reception. This is where we're going to gather all of the scholarship recipients and their funders together just for a nice afternoon of camaraderie and just a way to gather and celebrate the success of this program because it has grown so big over the years. This year alone, we'll give away approximately $1 million worth of scholarship funding and all sorts of things. One thing that is also new this year, Vince, we are launching, or we have launched, a brand new international scholarship program where we've given funds to 7 universities around the world that all have very, very unique aviation programs. For example, one of them is the University of Leiden's Air and Space Law Institute. It's a very unique program based in the Netherlands. We were proud to partner with them and give away scholarships there to their students. And so we will have their students coming to conference this year. We also have partnered with the University of New South Wales in Australia, and their student will be coming to the conference. This will be the first time that we've had international universities represented at the conference, but we've also partnered with the University of Limerick, with the University of the West Indies, with ENAC University in France. So we've got some really great brand new international partnerships. And I know, Lynda, expanding internationally is one of the goals that you have as our new CEO. And this is one way that we can do that.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we are Women in Aviation International. We do have international presence, but there is room to grow there and ensure that we're offering, the access, the community and support to women throughout the world. So we are very excited about expanding some of our education programs overseas and expanding all of our programs overseas. We do have overseas chapters. And again, as Stephanie said, we have education programs, but that's something we want to continue to do and to grow.
So a couple of questions I have for you guys. One in reference to your fantastic scholarship program, and that is, what kind of advice do you have for young people out there that are trying to figure out what they want to do or interested in something? Maybe they've already started on a path, and they would be interested in applying for a scholarship. What recommendations do you have on how they go about that? Not trying to get too much into the weeds with it, but just an overall perspective on it, please.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about our scholarship program. It doesn't really matter what your interest is in aviation. We've got very diverse offerings. So it's not just flight training. There are all sorts of things, aeronautical engineering scholarships, you name it. We've got scholarships for just about anything. If I can offer a couple of tips, though, number one, as I mentioned before, you must be a member of Women in Aviation to apply. So when you become a member, you're going to get the benefit of having that opportunity to apply for scholarships, but will also allow you to explore some of the different career paths that you could take within aviation. Our Aviation for Women magazine always has inspirational articles in it where we try to highlight role models, tell unique stories. So when you become a member and you have the magazine and other resources available to you through your membership, that will also help you sort of explore maybe what you want, what path you want to pursue. And then, of course, because we only have a limited number of scholarships every year, we do offer them every year. So I would say if you don't get one year, try again. Go ahead and apply again, because chances are you're eventually going to be able to get one. So persistence is the key.
Right.
So for those in the audience that are not that familiar with aviation, maybe vaguely familiar even with Women in Aviation, but maybe they're checking it out because we're doing this preview of the conference, what kind of advice do you have for them in terms of the next steps to pursue going after a scholarship? And one of the things I'm bringing this up for a reason, there are a number of people that would like to get a scholarship, but they almost have scholarship fright, for lack of a better term, in terms of the application process. It's, having to fill it out, having to maybe do an essay and things like that. Sometimes they'll start, but they won't finish. Sometimes parents want to help, but they don't know how because they're not that familiar with the industry, et cetera. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Mhm. Sure. So we also use a brand new program. You can see that we're getting more advanced with our technology between the mentor program, but also we're using a brand new program for our scholarships. It's a program called Wise Hive that is used by an awful lot of universities around the world. And that has helped us in terms of not only the ability to review the applications, but it also makes it easier. It's much more user-friendly for anybody who wants to apply. So brief essays are required. You plug that right into the system. Very easy to upload resumes, that sort of thing. So we're trying to use technology even more to make what we do easier, more user-friendly for our members. And I would also say that a lot of parents don't really know how many opportunities are available for their girls. Again, another barrier that was identified in that report was that parents don't really know how to guide their kids either to come into aviation. And again, that's what we are all about. We want to engage girls. You know, our goals are to invest in not only our current workforce, but our future workforce. We want to inspire girls to pursue these careers in aviation and aerospace. And of course, the other thing that I know we haven't really talked much about yet is that we want to build a really diverse and inclusive aviation industry. So diversity is the key, because we know that by bringing more women and other groups into aviation, not only will doors open for them professionally, but it will make for a stronger industry overall.
Correct. I mean, if you just think about the math, Vince, I mean, women are 51% of the population, and if you have the access and the dream and the passion to pursue a career in aviation, that's just more talent, more professionals, more access to this industry. It can only bolster the industry. I mean, it is the safest, one of the safest, if not the safest industry on the planet, and it's got such high standards, and it's a wonderful industry to work in. If you have more talent coming in, it just I said it's just math. It's you're not going to have the shortages that so many industries, including aviation, are experiencing right now. But you're also going to have tapped into just this wealth of this talent pool. And that's what we're about too. We're about our members being able to pursue their dreams and to give them the access and the community and the support and the mentorship. But it's also about our industry, our sponsors, our supporters. We're here to help develop a ready-made, highly skilled, educated workforce that you could tap into.
Yeah, absolutely. And are they, do you guys have any other perspective or tips you'd like to share about breaking into this industry and things like internships? And that's something I always like to point out, that those are the avenues that can get you, moving forward in whatever aspect of the industry you're trying to do that in.
Yeah. If I could start off, Stephanie, then I'll pass it over to you. But something I probably learned a little bit too late as I was moving through my career is network, and meet people, talk to them, let them know what you're interested in. And this could start at a very young age. And we have the programs for girls at a young age to join and express their interest in aviation, meet mentors and meet role models that can help them break into the industry. But network and making those connections, you provide yourself access to this industry, and you meet people, you learn more about it, maybe of a more specific path that you want to pursue. But that's what we're all about. We're a ready-made community that you could tap into. If you have an interest in pursuing aviation, this is ready-made, that you've got all sorts of support, and you have women that are in the early stages of their careers all the way through to retirement, that share your passion and share your interests. And it's a joy to be able to give back and to support people that are coming up behind you and that are interested in this. That's why I always tell people, if you're looking for a mentor, do not be shy, because we love mentoring. It's a bright spot in the day when you get time to sit down and talk with a mentee.
Mhm.
I don't know, Stephanie, if anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Vince had asked us about internships, and one of the best ways to do the networking that you just mentioned, Lynda, is to come to the conference. But if you can't, we've got 180 chapters around the world. And
Yep.
so chances are you've got a Women in Aviation International chapter in your community. And so if you do want to explore some of the things that you might do in the industry, I would suggest that people get involved in their local chapter. We've got the chapters listed on our website, easy to find out where they are. But if anybody wants to just get involved on a local level, see where that takes you, and then come to a conference later on. But really, maybe the chapters could be the key to what Vince is talking about.
There are chapters all over the country. I mean, they're international, but they are all over the country too. So chances are you have one next door in your backyard.
Tell us a little bit, let's get into some specifics as we kind of start to wrap things up about going to this show down in Orlando, where it's taking place, and things like that.
It'll be at the World Center Marriott in Orlando, and the dates are the 21st through the 23rd. And right now, it looks like we're going to have one of the largest shows we've ever had. We're thinking, the way the numbers are growing, that we're going to surpass 5,000 attendees. So we're really excited. That'll be one of our biggest and best ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost 200 exhibitors too in the exhibitor hall.
Yeah, tell us about the exhibitors for a little bit. Just in general, what kind of exhibitors are you going to have there?
Well, I'll start off again, Stephanie, and I'll hand it over to you. Our sponsors, of course, have exhibits, have booths at the hall. There's all sorts of different industries that support aviation and aerospace. It's a great way too to walk the hall, and you learn a lot about the different companies, the different products. That also sparks ideas too, especially if you're young and you love the aviation industry. You can meet people, talk with them one-on-one, and learn more about what they do, what their companies do. So it's also a great opportunity to spend time on the exhibit floor and a lot of learnings and education and walking the hall as well. So Stephanie?
Yeah, and I would also say that the companies that are sponsoring this year's event are great. It's a great cross-section of the entire industry. We're going to have American Airlines, Boeing, Delta, Envoy, Southwest, United, but we've also got Airbus, EAA will be with us. We love EAA. Gulfstream, Amazon this year is a brand new sponsor. CAE, the Navy will be there, the Marines will be there, the Coast Guard will be there, UPS. We've got so many different sponsors. All of them will have exhibits or will have a presence at the conference in some way or another. So we're really, really looking forward to having just a wide range of sponsors and exhibitors there. Great opportunity to network and just explore what being a woman in aviation is all about.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Stephanie. Did I mention network earlier? This is a great opportunity. Just
the
to
perfect place to network.
Exchange cards or get their name and their contact. And I always encourage people, if you get a contact, keep that contact, follow up, because they do love meeting people, especially young people that are just so excited and want to get into the industry. And the people that are there, they're just as excited as you are. They want to help and they want to support you.
Yeah, I always tell people that are the young people that are shy, just walk up and talk to somebody, and you can ask them one question. You will be talking with them for the next 15 or 20 minutes.
Exactly. We love to talk about our industry. We love to talk about what we do, right?
Very true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that's going to be taking place during these 3 days?
I think you've covered most of it, but Vince, a lot of people are really surprised to learn what a small staff we have at Women in Aviation, and it takes so many people to pull the conference together, but we have 10 people on our staff. That's it. An army of volunteers help to bring this conference together. So, I know that we want to give a shout out and thank all of the volunteers that make this happen, but also the staff that works for months and months to make this event happen.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I am new to the organization, and quite honestly, when I came in and I saw how lean and small, the staff is, after experiencing these really large and complex conferences, I was quite shocked that that there was such a small group of women who pulled this off, that created these wonderful experiences and events. And the reason is that they have such a love for the industry. They are so invested and have a passion for the mission of Women in Aviation International that it really is inspiring for me to see what a great staff and how hard they work to really create and execute on these just fabulous events. I would say if you ask most of the attendees going, they would also be extremely surprised to know just the amount of volunteer work that goes into it, and also the small staff that makes it happen. So I know I'm a new CEO to this organization, but I couldn't be more proud of my team already in these early days leading up to the conference. It really is. It's inspiring for me to see how hard everybody works and how they collaborate, how they problem solve together, how they work with all the vendors and the sponsors and the conference center. It really is amazing.
Yeah, and I would say that, that's one of the things that I like the most is being able to meet our members who are at the conference, and anybody who is at the conference, I would encourage them to come up and say hello to all of us on the staff. You've probably seen us on the website or in some way, but to be able to meet our members in person really makes the conference so special. So I would encourage everybody, and I know, Lynda, you'll be walking around, so I would say any member who wants to just grab you and say hello and introduce themselves. It's a great opportunity for them to meet you as our new CEO as well.
Please. I don't want anybody to be shy, because I'm excited about meeting as many of our members as we can, especially the volunteers, the women and the girls that are going to be out there volunteering. I want to make sure that as many of them, I can thank them as possible for volunteering to help us out put on this, these wonderful events. But yeah, anybody who's watching this webcast, if you see me, pull me aside and say hello. I would love to meet you.
And I would say likewise for our board. We have a board of directors that is made up of really passionate women who care about this industry and care about the organization very much. While they were going through their search to fill the CEO position, Lynda, I know that they worked extra hours really trying to find just the right person and keeping the organization on track. They're a great group of men and women, by the way. And I would say that if anybody is interested in serving on the board, you might want to also see if you can find some of the board members that'll be at the conference, talk to them about what opportunities might be available. If that is something that you would like to do, it's a volunteer position, but we're always looking to refresh the board, and it might be an interesting conversation for anybody at the conference to have, just to talk to some of our board members, find out what it's like, and see if maybe that's another opportunity for you to get involved in the organization.
Correct. That's a really good point, Stephanie. And another thing that I found very impressive coming into this role is how passionate the board is. I mean, this is not a meet once a quarter board. This is a board that is very involved in the organization because of the care of the organization. They care very deeply about the mission and about the organization. And I joined, back in January when we were just getting into the final planning stages of the conference. And one of the first things they said to me was, we want to make sure that we are able to contribute, to support, to help, and to be there, that they're to participate in the conference in a very meaningful way. So we're very fortunate to have the board we have. We talked about there's going to be a new members connect for new members in the lay greeting, which is sponsored by Hawaiian. That's another fun little venue event.
We've talked a little bit about the future, but we haven't talked about how Women in Aviation honors the past. And we do that every year through our Pioneer Hall of Fame dinner. That is the capstone event at the conference. It happens on Saturday nights, and it is where we honor the women who will be the new inductees into the Pioneer Hall of Fame. This year we'll have Katherine Johnson being inducted. She is the legendary NASA engineer. We'll also be doing a couple of groups, which is somewhat unusual. We have the U.S. Air Force's first undergraduate navigator class of 78 through 01. And then we also have the U.S. Army Air Force's World War II flight nurses. Those three groups will be honored at the dinner on Saturday night. The full list of our Pioneer Hall of Fame members are also on our website. So that's an interesting thing for you all to check out. We really are very proud to be able to honor not only the future of aviation, but the past and the women who've come before us. The only thing that I would want to add, simply to say that, we are a nonprofit organization, and we do rely on donations to help us do all the things that we do, all the things that we talked about today. We certainly have our membership dues that help support us, and the conference helps to support us. But there are things that we're doing that dues alone just don't cover. That includes things like our professional leadership development programs that we're working with in Harvard, Girls in Aviation Day, all our Aviation for Girls programs. All of that is supported by donations. So I would just ask that everybody remember us when you're doing your charitable donations at the end of the year. We want to be your favorite charity. We want to be the favorite nonprofit. So that's one thing that I would certainly add.
Thank you. Thank you. Here. That's, again, there's a lot of great work that this organization does. We are all fully invested and passionate about the mission. And really, it's so important for, in this day and age, to be able to create this talent pool and to support women that have this passion for going into the aviation and aerospace industry. So yes, any donations, any support is always appreciated. It goes to just a wealth of wonderful programs. And, we want to grow these programs too. So we're supporting women throughout their entire lifetime in their career. This isn't, just about your, early days of, getting a scholarship and going to school. This is supporting women throughout their entire journey in aviation and aerospace. So there's all sorts of different avenues by which we could do that. But again, we're a nonprofit, so we are dependent upon not only the generous support of our sponsors, but also in our membership dues, but also the generosity for individual donations.
We're looking forward to seeing everybody in Orlando very soon, and we'll see you there. Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to it.
Ladies, thank you very much for joining me today and for providing such great insight into the Women in Aviation International organization. That was Lynda Coffman, Women in Aviation International CEO, along with Stephanie Kenyon, their COO. As they both mentioned, this will be WAI's 35th annual three-day conference that begins on Thursday, March 21st, down in Florida at the Orlando World Center Marriott. I am so looking forward to seeing you ladies, along with 5,000 of my closest aviation colleagues and aspiring aviator friends. To find out more details about this conference, such as what's on the program agenda, who all are exhibiting, the many education sessions, and a refresh of who the keynote speakers will be, I highly recommend going to WAI's comprehensive website, www.wai.org. Again, that's www.wai.org. Or you can just type in your search browser, Women in Aviation International. That again is Women in Aviation International. All Things Aviation and Aerospace is my podcast dedicated to inspiring the next generation of aspiring young aviation and aerospace professionals to provide them with valuable insight on opportunities and possibilities in the aviation and aerospace industries. It is a production of Private Air Media Group and is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Until next time, stay safe safe flying if you're a pilot like me, and have a good one.